Okay. Okay, we are discussing about the population interactions. There are different types of interspecific interactions, which were named as mutualism, competition, predation, parasitism, commensalism, and amensalism. Here we can see the interaction. It is represented in the form of symbols like positive, negative, and zero. Okay, the positive means if the organism is beneficial, we are giving the positive symbol. Okay, whichever the organism is benefited, for that we are giving positive, and the negative sign is given for a detrimental. That means the organism which leads to death. Okay, and symbol zero is given if it is neutral. That means if it is neither harmed nor benefited. Okay, so that's what we can see here. Okay, if you observe the mutualism, it is an interaction between two different species in which both the organisms are getting benefited. That's why we are given species A and species B. For both the organisms we have given plus. That means it indicates that both the organisms are getting benefited in this association. And next, competition. So a competition is an interaction between two different species in which both the organisms are affected. Both the organisms are losing from that environment. That's why we are given negative symbol for both the species in a competition. Okay, and the next one is predation. Okay, predation is a association between two different species in which one organism is benefited and the other organism is detrimental. That means affected. Here, okay, in predation we have got two organisms. One is prey and the next one is predator. The prey is detrimental, whereas the predator is getting benefited. Okay, and next, parasitism. Okay, parasitism is also an interaction between two different species in which one organism is benefited and the other organism is detrimental. That means lost. Okay, one is host and the second one is parasite. The parasite here is benefited and the host is affected or detrimental. And next, commensalism. Okay, commensalism is a type of interspecific interaction in which one organism is benefited and one organism is neither benefited nor harmed, neutral. That is commensalism. And next, amensalism. Amensalism is a interspecific interaction between two different species in which one species is detrimental, that means affected, and one organism is or one species is neither affected nor harmed. One organism is affected and one organism is neither benefited nor harmed. That is called amensalism. Okay, that's what we can see here. Both the species get benefited in mutualism and both lose in competition in their interactions with each other. In both parasitism and predation, only one species benefits. There is a parasite and predator respectively. Okay, and the interaction is detrimental to other species, host and prey respectively. The interaction where one species is benefited and other is neither benefited nor harmed is the commensalism. And in amensalism, on the other hand, one species is harmed, whereas the other is unaffected. That is either neither harmed nor affected. So predation, parasitism, and commensalism share a common characteristic that interacting species live closely together. Okay, so we'll discuss one by one in detail with some examples. Predation. Okay, here when you observe, the herbivores are also considered as a predator. Okay, one thing you have to remember is the herbivore is also a predator. So what would happen to all the energy fixed by autotrophic organisms if the community has no animals to eat the plants? Okay, that means if an ecosystem is not having any herbivores in that ecosystem, then what happens to the all the energy that is fixed in that community or ecosystem? So that's why the predation is very, very important in the nature. So you can think of predation as nature's way of transferring to higher trophic levels the energy fixed by plants. So, okay, how the energy is getting transferred? How the energy is getting transferred from plants to higher trophic levels means through predation. So the predation is the means by which the energy is getting transmitted or transferred from plants to higher trophic levels, which is fixed by photosynthesis in plants. So when we think of predator and prey, most probably it is the tiger and the deer that readily come to our mind. But a sparrow eating any seed is no less a predator. So a bird eating a grain or a seed or a fruit is also considered as a predator. That's why, although animals eating plants are categorized separately as herbivores, they are in a broad ecological context, not very different from predators. So all herbivores, okay, in an ecological context, they are also considered as a predators. Not only the carnivores, not only the carnivores, okay, herbivores are also categorized as predators in the ecological context. Okay, when you observe here, besides acting as a conduits for energy transfer across trophic levels, predators play other important roles. That is, conduits means transferring the energy. Okay, beside transferring the energy from one trophic level to another trophic level, the predators are also having other important roles. That is, they keep prey population under control. Okay, that is the checks. We already discussed the growth models. No restraints, some restraints are there in an ecosystem or in a community. okay, to maintain the population. Okay, one of that restraint, we can say it as a predation. So they keep a prey populations under control. That means if there are no herbivores in a ecosystem or a community, the plants will grow effectively. That means the plants will grow enormously and cover the total land. And if there are no carnivores in a ecosystem, then the herbivore population will increase because there is no restraint for a herbivores now. So the herbivore population increases, thereby destroys all the vegetation, and the okay, and the plants are destroyed. The producers are removed, and finally the herbivores are removed. So the total ecosystem get disturbed. So that's why we are saying the prey, okay, that means to keep the prey population under control. This predation is playing a very important role. But for predators, prey species could achieve very high population densities and cause ecosystem instability. So in the absence of the prey, in the absence of the predators, what happened? The prey species will increases its population and it disturbs the ecosystem. So when certain exotic species are introduced into a geographical area, they become invasive and start spreading fast because the invaded land does not have its natural predators. Okay, so due to the absence of the natural predator for that exotic species or alien species that is introduced newly into that ecosystem, that organism flourishes well, disturbing the already existing species. Okay, so that's okay. Here one example is given. The prickly pear cactus, introduced into Australia in the early 1920s, caused a havoc by spreading rapidly into millions of hectares of rangeland. So, okay, that means, okay, when they introduce, okay, cactus is a tropical plant or a desert plant, which will grow at a low water content. But when the water content is available effectively, it can spread very easily. So in Australia, when they introduced into Australia, as the conditions are favorable for this and there are no natural predators for this cactus plant, it has grown enormously within a short period of time. Okay, finally, the invasive cactus was brought under control only after a cactus feeding predator from its natural habitat was introduced into the country. So to control this cactus population, they also introduced a natural predator in the form of moth. And this moth controlled the population of cactus in Australia. So biological control methods adopted in agriculture pest control are based on the ability of the predator to regulate prey population. So biological, okay, that means here we can use the biological control instead of using insecticides, chemical insecticides and pesticides. Instead of that, we can use biological control methods so that we can the environment is not disturbed. That means we can kill only those specific organisms. We can kill only those specific organisms. Okay, that means those organisms which are causing damage to the croplands, those insects only will kill. But those insects which are required for pollination and all that, they do not get disturbed by using this biological control methods. So biological control methods adopted in agriculture pest control are based on the ability of the predator to regulate prey population. And next, predators also help in maintaining species diversity in a community by reducing the intensity of competition among competing prey species. So that means they are not only controlling the prey population, they are also reducing the intensity of competition among competing prey species. For example, in the rocky intertidal communities of the American Pacific coast, the starfish pisaster is an important predator. Okay, a starfish by name as a pisaster. Okay, it is a predator starfish. That means it's a carnivore. Okay, in a field experiment, when all the starfish were removed from an enclosed intertidal area, more than 10 species of invertebrates became extinct within a year because of interspecific competition. Because the prey population was not under control. Okay, the prey population increased, and these prey population, because of competition developed among the different types of herbivores or this invertebrate organisms, okay, resulted in the if a competition develops, what happens? Both the organisms are lost. They destroy one to other one, and finally, it resulted in the extinction of 10 different species of invertebrates in that intertidal region of American Pacific coast. So here, that means here the starfish is here the natural predator, which will checks the population of all these 10 species of invertebrates. When the population is under control, so the competition will be less and they can able to survive. That is the importance of predation. And next, if a predator is too efficient and over exploits its prey, then the prey might become extinct, and following it, the predator will also become extinct for lack of food. Okay. So if you observe, if the predator is too efficient and it is capturing a lot of prey continuously for the sake of food material or some other purpose, then what happens? Okay, the prey population gradually decreases and the prey undergoes extinction. If the prey undergoes extinction, the predator also follows it. Why? Because due to the lack of food, because once the prey is lost, the food availability for the predator also lost. so it also undergoes extinction. This is the reason why predators in nature are prudent, very, very important, very specific. So the predators are playing a very important role in an ecosystem, in a nature. So prey species have evolved various defenses to lessen the impact of predation. That means if if the predators are more efficient, if the predators are more efficient, then what happens? They will kill all the prey, and which may lead to the extinction of prey. So that's why what the prey will adopt different, the prey will develop certain mechanisms by which they reduce the impact of predation, the prey species. Okay, for example, some species of insects and frogs are cryptically colored, that is camouflage, to avoid being detected easily by the predator. That means the change or their body color will be similar to that of environment in which they are living. Okay, the insects and all and the frogs are some, so that they can be protected. Okay, that they can be less detected by the predators, and some are poisonous and therefore avoided by the predators. Okay, for example, the monarch butterfly is highly distasteful to its predator because of a special chemical present in its body. So that means here the butterfly is producing certain chemical in its body, which is making it a distasteful. That means the taste is not good for that bird. So it will not. Okay. Prudent means very important, playing a very important role, very clear, very clear and a very important role in a ecosystem. That's what the prudent means. Very important organisms in any ecosystem, the predators, because they are because of that only the total population are different communities in an ecosystem are maintained. That's why we say prudent. That means very clearly very important organisms or species in a ecosystem. So that means if the predator is more efficient and if it is continuously catching up the prey, then what happens? It leads to the extinction of that prey, thereby followed by the predator also. So to reduce this efficiency, the prey has developed different mechanisms. That is, okay, they develop certain camouflage and they develop certain poisonous nature, and some will be producing certain chemicals which makes it a distasteful. Interestingly, the butterfly acquires this chemical during its caterpillar stage by feeding on a poisonous weed. Okay, that means during the caterpillar stage, okay, of this butterfly, during the larval stage or caterpillar stage, it will feed on a plant which is which is have got some poison, and that poison will be entered into the body of that butterfly, but the butterfly has adopted to that chemical so that it does not affect its body, but the organism which will eat that butterfly, that is affected. That like that, it has undergone adaptation. Even in case of plants also, we'll find some mechanisms by which it can reduce the impact of the herbivores. For plants, herbivores are the predators. Nearly 25% of all insects are known to be phytophags, that is feeding on plant sap and other parts of plants. Okay, either they feed on leaves or flowers or okay, stem, part of stem or root or something like that. They may affect different parts of the plant. So they are called as phytophags. The problem is particularly severe for plants because unlike animals, they cannot run away from their predators. Okay, for example, if a tiger tries to catch up a deer, the deer will not stay static. It will move away. It will run away from the tiger or a lion or some other animal from the predator. So it can protect. It has got some mechanism by which it can run away. But plants do not have such mechanism to run away from that predator. So plants therefore have evolved an astonishing variety of morphological and chemical defenses against herbivores. So what, as they cannot run away, they developed certain morphological and chemical mechanisms by which they can protect from the herbivores. For example, thorn, the spiny pointed structures, which we called as thorns. In case of acacia and cactus, are the most common morphological means of defense. Yeah. Okay, these thorns, that means, okay, these thorns will protect the organisms from being eaten, the plants being eaten. And many plants produce and store chemicals that make the herbivore sick when they are eaten, inhibit feeding or digestion, disrupt its reproduction, or even kill it. That means the plants will produce certain chemicals as a secondary metabolites, which are stored in different parts of the plant. And whenever the herbivore come and eat the plant, and these chemicals will enter into the body of that herbivore and causes different problems. Like, okay, it will make the organism, the herbivore sick or inhibit feeding. That means it will reduces the feeding of that, and next it will affect the digestion, or it may affect the reproduction, and even sometimes it may kill it. Okay, you must have seen the weed calotropis growing in abundant fields. Okay, calotropis. Okay, when you observe the color calotropis, okay, there are some, okay, when you go to a field, we'll find certain plants. Okay, when you cut the stem or a leaf, we'll find white color fluid emerging out of that plant. That latex, the milky white substance called as a latex, okay, is used to produce from that plant. Okay, that is nothing but calotropis. Okay, you can see this calotropis. The plants produce highly poisonous cardiac glycosides, and that is why you never see any cattle or goats browsing on this plant. Okay, how this calotropis is a weed plant which will grow wild in a wild, but they can grow effectively. No organism or no herbivore will try to eat these plants. Why? Because it will produce certain poisonous substance which will cause damage to the heart. Okay, that's why any cattle or goat will not try to eat this calotropis plant. Okay, not only that, a wide variety of chemical substance that we extract from plants on a commercial scale. Okay, different chemicals we are extracting, like nicotine, caffeine, quinine, strychnine, opium, etc., are produced by them actually as defenses against grazers and browsers, that is herbivorous plants. Okay, because these are all chemical substances which will disturb the different systems that are present in the body. Okay, in the first year we have studied biomolecules, primary metabolites and secondary metabolites. Once you go through that topic, you can understand how the chemical substances are produced in these plants. These are all nicotine, caffeine, quinine, strychnine, opium. All these are secondary metabolites. These are all secondary metabolites. Okay, these are all some chemical substances which are produced during different metabolic activities. But as there are no excretory organs or specialized excretory organ to send this one, so what the plants will do means they are stored in separate organs or structures that are present in the plant body. Okay, like seeds and fruits, whenever they dropped, there will be sent, okay, they removed from the plant body, and that we are commercially extracting, and that we are making use of it. Okay, actually why they are produced means because these are produced in the plants to protect from the grazing animals. Okay, so that is how the plants are protected from the predator organisms. Okay, that is, anybody is having any doubt in the predation?